Okay, so here is the bird's food station with its mesh to catch spillage against the wall. And I'm going to show you a very interesting social engineering in pigeons. So, I'm going to give them this big food dish. Excuse me. That pretty neatly holds all of their food. Like, there's not a whole lot of space for storage, but look how they eat. Only a few birds can fit in here at a time, and there is no spillover on the side for other birds to eat with them. The way they crowd around it, most of their heads are buried when they eat. And here in a few minutes, you'll see them starting to get stressed from the number of birds that are crowded. And you'll see the birds that keep their positions. You can see that specific group actually standing in the dish. There's Dudley and Sissy, there's Agnes, there's Pitch, there's Kara, and there's Yun that can actually fit inside and eat. It looks like Luca has joined them. Now that they're starting to crowd, they're starting to feel like there is a scarcity. There's not much being spilled out. You can see Dudley there standing up to defend his spot. He may permit some birds to feed, but you'll notice that most of them, now that especially the youngest, now that they've noticed that that's what they're eating out of, everybody has cleared out and they're looking elsewhere. Only a few are allowed at the dish, and there is pretty stiff competition. The ones who are not fit for that competition have walked away, the birds who are lower on the pecking order. And like you can see Dudley clearing folks out of what he considers to be his space. That food dish now belongs to him and his wife. And he will fight the other birds so that his wife can get her fill. So everyone is hungry. This is the first fresh food they've gotten. And Dudley is defending it fearsomely. That is his spot now. That is his spot for his wife. Only she may join him. And if he notices another bird eating, he will chase them away. No other bird really gets a chance to come in unless they're very sneaky until he moves. And you can see that aggression trickle down into the other birds. There is a gracious plenty for everybody to eat, but in just that amount of time, Dudley has cleared almost everyone out. Everyone's hungry. Everyone wants fresh food. But until Dudley says so, they can't have it because that food dish is exactly big enough for him to be able to easily defend by himself. So you'll see the bolder individuals come up, sneak in bites while he's eating. And of course his wife Agnes is allowed to get in with him. And his brother, who is big and strong enough to really put up a fight. And now he's fighting his own wife. It is his turn to eat right now, because they perceive there to be a scarcity. He's done. He's going to court some ladies. Everybody's going to fill in. And once again, you will see someone in that second round dominate that dish. Right now it's Gwen. That's Gwen's dish right now. Nobody is allowed to eat in it but Gwen, and she will fight you. Some birds are okay standing in the feed. Some of them are a little less comfortable with that. Now that Gwen's made her point, she'll eat from the side. She'll let a couple other birds eat from the side, but look how few are able to eat. Now we're going to swap out for the dish that I prefer. This is much smaller, much shallower. Excuse me, kids. Excuse me. Clear out. Clear out. That means you. Pick this up, I'll put this smaller dish in, and we're going to pour all of this in here, and this smaller dish barely holds those 7 measures. Barely holds it. If they even look at it funny, it starts to spill. But because it starts to spill, they can't food guard. There is constantly food spilling out the sides. Other birds can see it, other birds can get in on it. There is no way with a dish this shallow that even the big boys could stand in it and guard it all, because all their stomping around to guard it would just spill more out to the sides. So the birds who are a little bit lower in the pecking order can now eat that there. And look how many are coming in to eat. There was Dudley trying to defend from Sissy. He cannot. He can defend maybe the exact spot his face is in. But in doing that, he's just kind of spreading more food, and other birds can come and eat from the edges. So just the change in feed dish, just the allowance for a little more mess allows more birds to eat at once, and prevents the severity of flock aggression that there is the potential to be. So this deep food dish is now a bath dish. See how much calmer all the birds are eating together? Pigeons are communal feeders, and if they can't feed communally, they can't bond together. This is what encourages flock cohesion. Without it, they compete fiercely for resources that they perceive to be limited. If they do not perceive a limit to their resources, then they're quite content to eat peacefully together. Personal space is important to pigeons. It's a status symbol, how much personal space you have. Just as much as exactly where your nest box is a status symbol. So we have this small number of birds eating in the center, but in so doing they are spreading food absolutely everywhere. And younger birds, less aggressive birds, are able to eat that out there on the sides without upsetting any of the bigger, more dominant birds. You can see in their posture how much more relaxed they are with the wider spread of feed. Goes at Kara. Hi, Kara. Comes at Gwen. Gwen's gonna get her some. Eventually. Gwen will eventually get some. Gwen is a bit of a bitch. She has a very high status. She doesn't like anybody in her little bubble of personal space except Emilio. Nobody else is allowed to touch her or talk to her. She is kind of the loft's queen bee. Once her bubble of personal space is big enough, then she'll eat. But otherwise, she doesn't really socialize with anyone but Amelia. Alrighty. Come on in, little beeps. It's food time. It's food time, little beeps. The birds. There goes that Emilio trying to quarter. Okay, and we will be back momentarily to resume sifting.